After the Night King died, the fear of the dead ended in Westeros. Everyone seemed to get their ending. Bran became king. Arya sailed west in search of unknown lands. Tyrion became Hand of the King once again. But there were still many unanswered questions. What happened to Jon Snow? What happened to the Night's Watch? And what became of the True North now that the White Walkers were gone? At the end of the series, Jon Snow was freed from imprisonment after killing Daenerys Targaryen. Although many believed he had saved Westeros from another tyrant, the Unsullied still viewed him as a traitor who had murdered their queen. When Bran became king, he negotiated a compromise. Jon would be spared, but only if he accepted a life sentence in the Night's Watch. At first glance, this seems like a punishment, but was it really? Think about Jon's entire life. He joined the Night's Watch. He became Lord Commander. He fought at Hardhome. He died and was brought back to life. He won the Battle of the Bastards. He became king in the north. He formed an alliance with Daenerys, and eventually discovered that he was the true heir to the Iron Throne. Every step of Jon's journey was controlled by duty, responsibility, and politics. He never wanted power. He never wanted the throne, and yet power always found him. That's why many fans believe Jon's ending was not a punishment at all. It was freedom. For the first time in his life, Jon was no longer fighting for a kingdom, a crown, or a political cause. He was finally free to choose his own path, and that path led him beyond the Wall. But that raises another question. Why did the wildlings return to the True North? After all, wasn't their original goal to settle in the South? For thousands of years, life beyond the Wall was a nightmare. The Free Folk, better known as the Wildlings, lived in one of the harshest regions in the known world. Freezing winters could wipe out entire villages. Food was scarce, and every generation lived under the shadow of an even greater threat, the White Walkers. Wildling children grew up hearing stories of the dead returning in the night. Entire clans vanished without a trace. Every winter brought fear, not just fear of starvation, fear of extinction. This is why so many Wildlings followed Mance Rayder south. Many fans assumed they wanted to conquer Westeros, but that wasn't true. Most Wildlings simply wanted survival. They wanted land, food, and protection from the White Walkers. But after the Battle of Winterfell, everything changed. The Night King was dead. The White Walkers were gone. The army of the dead had vanished forever. For the first time in thousands of years, the True North was free from its greatest threat. The very reason the wildlings had fled south no longer existed, and suddenly, returning home became possible again. This is exactly what we see in the final episode. Jon Snow, Tormund Giantsbane, Ghost, and many members of the Free Folk travel beyond the Wall together. They are not marching toward exile. They are returning home. In many ways, Jon is returning home as well, because throughout the series, Jon was often accepted more by the Free Folk than by the nobles of Westeros. He fought beside them, protected them, and risked everything to save them. To many wildlings, Jon Snow was already one of their own. But another mystery remains. Why does the Night's Watch still exist? Its original purpose was to defend the realm from threats beyond the Wall. The White Walkers are gone. The wildlings are no longer enemies. So why continue the organization? The show never gives us a direct answer. One possibility is that the Night's Watch simply became a political institution, a place where unwanted nobles, criminals, and political problems could be sent, just as it had been for centuries before the return of the White Walkers. Another possibility is even more interesting. What if the people of Westeros still feared that unknown dangers existed beyond the Wall? After all, the far north remains largely unexplored. The children of the forest are nearly extinct. Ancient magic still exists, and many mysteries remain unsolved. Perhaps the Night's Watch survives because nobody truly knows what lies in the frozen wilderness. The final scene gives viewers one last clue. As Jon and the wildlings travel north, a small green plant can be seen growing through the snow. It appears only briefly, but its symbolism is powerful. For years, the True North represented death, cold, darkness, and endless winter. Now life is returning, the land is healing, the long night is over, and perhaps the True North is entering a new age. Game of Thrones never showed us exactly what happened next, but the clues suggest a hopeful future. The wildlings finally returned home, the White Walkers were defeated, the True North began to recover, and Jon Snow may have finally found the freedom he spent his entire life searching for. But many mysteries still remain. Did Jon Snow eventually become the king beyond the Wall? What lands did Arya Stark discover west of Westeros? Will the Night's Watch ever face another supernatural threat? And are the White Walkers truly gone forever? Those are questions that Game of Thrones never answered, and perhaps that's exactly why fans are still talking about the ending years later.